Pop Warner tonight. We have Jake Mabardi, and Jay unfortunately couldn't be here, but it was his second year playing. He plays running back and linebacker for the Sachems. His speed and overall ability is what makes him a very versatile player, so I wanted to at least say something because he couldn't be here. Going over the scores for this past weekend, the Winchester High School lost a very close game against Arlington, 28-26. It came down to the last couple of minutes of the game again. The first play of the game was a 75-yard pass from Mike Grassi to Stevie Fitzpatrick, and Dana Morocco ran for 3 other touchdowns throughout that game. We'll talk a little bit more about that game, but it was really an exciting game to watch. The kids just kept trying the entire day. They didn't give up, and they put themselves in a position where they could have pulled it out. But Arlington made some good plays themselves, good football plays, especially on that extra point that we tried for 2. The Sachems Youth Football Red, they traveled to Westwood last week and faced a very tough opponent from Westwood Middle School. At the half, the Sachems trailed 20-0, but continued to compete for the full 40 minutes. In the end, Westwood was too much for the Sachems, and they were defeated 42-8. This week, they'll travel to Canton on Friday and face the Canton Bulldogs at 4 p.m. The Sachems Youth Football Black hosted the Canton Bulldogs and lost a close one, 14-8. The Black team will travel to Melrose Friday evening for Under the Lights at 6 p.m. start. So if you guys can, please try to make it to those games as well, so you can watch the future high school kids coming up. The Pop Warner update. The E-team played a great game against Saugus yesterday. Sean Holland had a great game, and William Hellstrom stole a Saugus handoff and took it for a touchdown for Winchester. The D-Black pulled off a last-second miracle against the highly regarded East Lynn Bulldogs as Joe Lawler caught a great pass from Zach Travellini in the final seconds, but was stopped just short of the goal line. D-Red ran their record to 6-0 with a convincing 36-12 win over Saugus. Mike Bongiorno rushed for 200 yards and had 4 touchdowns for Winchester. The C team dropped a close game to Saugus despite a great game on both sides of the ball of our Pop Warner this week. Jake Mabardi had a touchdown and led the team with 8 tackles. He played a great game. He was all over the field, and we needed him too, so it was great to watch him play. Also, I want to bring up the Winchester Pop Warner cheering. They're pleased to announce that both Winchester Pop Warner cheering C and D teams have advanced to the next competition on October 26th at Saugus Arena. The Winchester Pop Warner E and F will be exhibiting at this tournament. Obviously, Winchester Pop Warner is very proud of all the 45 girls that are involved in the program, but it's nice to see that they have to compete now in order to be in the cheering program for Pop Warner, and right off the bat they've had some success, so we wish them well and good luck. So right now we're going to get into the pictures for the past football history. I'd like to go over the first picture. That is actually the 1964 McCall Middle School team. And to talk about that a little bit, at the time it was coached by Earl Johnson and a very young Manny Marshall, who went on to coach the high school football team, which most of us know. The 1964 team posted a record of 5-1. A couple things, if you can look over the shoulder of the last kid, the old press box, it had that second tier to do the filming. You can see it right above his head. The McCall Middle School program was great. I mean, now we have the Sachem Youth Football program, but McCall and Lynch had their own, back then it was 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, and they had their own programs, and their rival was McCall Lynch. So they ended their season right before Thanksgiving, playing the other middle school at the time, which was Lynch, which is now obviously an elementary school. But those were great games. We played both Woburn Junior Highs, Joyce and Kennedy. So so half of your games were, of those seasons were pretty competitive, because 2 of them were against Woburn and 1 was against our own rival right at Lynch. And but they were great teams, and all the coaches. I remember when I played, Coach Pirani was my coach, and Coach Donahue who was the longtime Winchester High School coach, Coach Lynch. And then when we moved up to the high school, the younger kids came with us. They ended up doing away with middle school sports at the time for cost cutting. I think the Proposition 2.5 probably put an end to that back then. But they did away with the middle school sports overall, which was a shame because we all had a chance to play for our schools at a young age, so it worked out great. But thankfully, we're almost at our 10-year anniversary of bringing middle school football back. The second picture that we have, that's 1975 Winchester High School football team. They had a record of 4-5. If you take a look, it was, back then I am surprised that there wasn't over a lot of players back then. We had some teams that were real big in years, but this team didn't seem overly, with the number of kids, there wasn't a lot at the time. I know Jimmy Cavino is in this picture. I don't know, unfortunately, what number he is. My older brother, Chris, is number 11. I remember his junior year, he was quarterback of this team, and then the gill metabolism kicked in, and he became a fullback the next year. And Donnie Allard took over this team, and then Donnie Allard, of course, became the Harvard quarterback and had a lot of success over there. But, I know they had some pretty tough seasons back then. Every once in a while they had some tough years, and then they came back strong into the 80s and 90s. So that's that picture. And the last picture that we have is the 1981, captained by Paul Manganaro, Stephen Costello, and Mark Mitchkay. They went 8-2. They defeated Woburn on Thanksgiving Day 8-0 to earn a piece of the Middlesex League Championship. More than 7 players from that team went on to play Division I and Division II college football. So one thing, first of all, look at Mango. Are you kidding me? I mean, he actually is in shape. That is unbelievable. He's off to the right there, number 65, in case you can't recognize him. Still can't believe he got any girls in high school, but he did. I don't know how that happened. But Mark Mitchkay, he lives in Winchester. There's the Donlin, Joey Donlin's number 11 off to the left. And there's a few other guys that are still in that picture that are still living around Winchester. But that was a great season that year. That started off with putting things in the right direction in the 80s for Winchester High School. So, and if you look at that, the number there, the numbers of kids playing the sport back then were starting to grow, and they were having some pretty large teams at that point. That was an era that they did have. They had a sophomore team and the junior varsity team. I remember in August, the camps, they had the sophomores scrimmage the varsity team. That was the end of camp every year. So that was always a pretty good fun scrimmage for the day to end double sessions. So those were our pictures and our pictures for the week. We'll have some more next week. And what we're going to do right now is we're going to bring up our guest, offensive coordinator for the high school, Tommy Carr. Tommy, thanks for coming. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. I do appreciate it. Tommy, this year it's been exciting to watch. Yes, you have the one win, but the advances from last year, where Reading was 40-something-0 at the time. You're in almost every game. I mean, Melrose was a little bit tough, but I think Melrose played really well, and you guys didn't play that well at all. But other than that, you've been in every game this year. It's been exciting to go down and watch these games, and you can see that the kids are getting better from year to year, but also week to week.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we definitely see marked improvement. What we're trying to be careful about right now is not allowing a culture to take place where moral victories are okay. So we've gotten better. We need to continue to get better because, it's great that we've improved, but we want to be winning these games that we are in. We put ourselves in position to win a couple, and we just didn't make the plays at the times that we needed them. We've got to coach kids a little better. They got to execute a little better. The effort is the only thing that we can't question because the kids have been playing hard. They've done everything we've asked them to do, Have they done it as smart and as well as they can all the time? No, but that's, the game. That's what we're always working at, trying to get a little better, not miss plays as often or not miss plays at all, ideally, but that's not going to, come without hard work.
Well, that leads to a pretty good question that I have is, how do you keep the kids motivated? I mean, we live in a world where instant gratification happens, and when they don't have things go their way, I mean, a lot of kids pack up tent. How do you keep them going? Because you're still going to play Woburn at the end of the year, which is the only game in my view, really matters.
Yeah. Well, we keep them motivated, especially this year with the different format. It's very easy to keep them motivated because even though we've had some tough losses and our record is not what we would like it to be right now, we still have a shot at playing a meaningful Game 8, meaning we'd be in the playoffs, which is what we've been talking about the whole year, is make sure that Week 8 matters. Right. Make sure that Week 8 is a game that, if we win, we continue, or if we lose, we go home. But we want to get in the tournament because, as you said, we've been playing close with teams that are going to be high seeds in the tournament. So if we can clean up our mistakes and get ourselves into the tournament, once you're in, you never know what could happen. So, we just got to keep getting better each week, which kids are committed to doing because there is a carrot on the end of the string. There's something at the end of the road that they can keep working towards, and we want to be a playoff team.
And, I think some explanation, to clarify the playoff situation, really, the way it works, that your team gets points even if you don't beat a team, but they continue to win afterwards?
So the way that it works is, although it's complicated, it actually is pretty straightforward when you kind of get the basics down. For a win within your own division, you're going to get 10 points. A win against a team in a lower division, you get 8. And a win against a team in a higher division, you get 12. From there, you get points for every win that a team gets that you've defeated. You get 3 points. For every team that you lose to, when they win, you get a point. So right now, we've lost to 2 undefeated teams and a team with 1 loss. So our number of points in the opponent category, because we played a difficult schedule, 2 teams with 1 loss, we played a difficult schedule. So fortunately, that has built up some points for us in that department. Now we got to start getting some wins so that we can get our point average up. But we are within, a decimal point of the teams ahead of us to get into the playoffs. The top 8 out of 11 in Division III Northwest will play a Week 8 playoff game. So we want to close on a few of those teams so that we can be a playoff contender when it comes to Week 8.
So playing Lexington, which is a Division I team,
yep.
If you beat them, does that allow you more points?
Yes, we would get 12 points for a victory against them because they're a Division I program.
So that's a big game.
It's a big game. Every game's a big game. Last week
course.
there were a lot of points on the board. So each and every week we need to approach it like we need that win because we got to put some points in our piggy bank so we can play Week 8, whoever that may be. It could be a rematch against one of these teams we've already played in Week 8 because they're going to be higher seeds and we're going to probably be in that 6, 7, 8 range if we take care of business and get ourselves into the tournament. But we got to do that first.
So you could play a Woburn?
We could play a Woburn, Arlington. Concord Carlisle is currently the number 1 seed in our Division III Northwest, so we could see them. But the majority of our division are teams that we played: Melrose, Arlington, Wakefield's in there. We haven't played them, but those are the teams that we are trying to get into the tournament with.
Now, tell me, your background was, I know you played in 2003, you were a 2003 grad anyway.
Yep.
Then you went to Worcester State.
Yep.
For some of you people that don't know, this is his 3rd year on this current coaching staff for the high school, but you've also been in Winchester lacrosse coaching staff for 9 years?
Yes, 9 seasons.
How do you feel about kids playing multiple sports, that type of thing, and your coaching? So you spend a lot of time with some of these kids because they play
both sports. Yep.
Both sports for you. So how does that work out? You see them in school, you see them in football,
I
you
see
see them in lacrosse.
I see them everywhere because I teach at the school too. But I encourage kids to play everything that they can possibly play because it's a short window. You're only this age. The once in your life where you have all these opportunities to compete, I encourage them to do as much as they can, as long as they are still taking care of the academics and have some semblance of a life outside of sports. But they should play a sport every season, in my opinion. And when they're younger, if some of that overlaps, then it overlaps. It even happens at the high school level. We fall league basketball or lacrosse, and if it overlaps, it overlaps. You need to be committed to the season you're in. But if you have the time and you can get it done, you should be doing the other things as well. I mean, we're fortunate to live in a community where there are opportunities to do anything you want. There's always a basketball game. There's always lacrosse, hockey, football. Anything you're into, there's an opportunity for you to do that.
Any season.
Any season.
You could play football in the winter.
Yep.
There's some camp that you could go to and stuff like that.
Right.
So.
Or you could be weight training. I mean, so
Right.
whatever you can be doing to get better at what you find valuable, whatever you enjoy, that's what you should be doing all the time. And 3-sport athletes are a rare thing now, but I want to see more. I want to see every kid doing everything.
Right.
And that's tough sometimes to balance, but I think it's a great experience for kids.
One question I do have about the weight training that you brought up. Talk to us about the importance of it. I understand it. It's important because you want to be strong, but why? What does it make you mentally strong, physically strong?
All of the above. And the hidden part of weight training that people forget is it is an injury prevention. It's a method towards preventing injury. When you're bigger and stronger, you're less apt to, get your knee twisted, roll your ankle, lose in a collision, and injure yourself that way. So the bigger and stronger you are, it's going to improve you as a player for sure. The faster you are is going to improve you, but it's also going to help prevent injury because you're taking care of your body. It also helps you build a routine where you're demanding the most of yourself in a time when you're not necessarily on the field competing. So that helps in the mental aspect as well. So it's invaluable for a number of reasons, but you got to be big as you can, fast as you can, strong as you can, to prevent injury, to give yourself a competitive edge, and to work on your mental toughness as well.
I also noticed, because I do think with stamina throughout the game, that if you're stronger, then you can fight well in the fourth quarter. I think that I've seen kids in general, not necessarily Winchester kids or what have you, but you could see where, like that number 6 for Arlington, at the end of the game, he was tired.
Yeah.
I mean, he worked, don't get me wrong, but he was tired at the end.
Yeah, for sure. And you should be tired. You don't want to have too much left in the tank. You want to be putting everything you have out there. But, in the fourth quarter is where, we want to be finishers. We talk about it in film a lot. Talked about it today in film, didn't we, Jim? We want to be finishers. So that goes on individual plays. We want to finish the play, but it also goes for the game. We've got to get better at finishing ball games.
That's something different too. I mean, we had films when we were younger, but they weren't nearly as clear as they are now. It's nothing escapes these kids. These kids are, it's all there. How do you handle those types of situations? Because kids make mistakes. It goes on and on. But I understand that film can be an interesting day.
Film can be an interesting day. The film doesn't lie. So sometimes things happen quickly on the game day, and we get an explanation as to what went on, and then you turn the film on, and we're like, here it is. It's what went wrong here, Jim? So, film study is, the game has changed.
Yeah.
And it's something you have to do now. It's not something that you can do. It's something you need to do. If you don't study your opponent or yourself, immediately after a game and see your mistakes and see how to get better, you're not going to be a competitive football team. So we, every Monday we watch film. We try to watch some of the good and some of the bad. What do we do well this week? Where do we need to improve? And then we do a lot, the opening play of this week's game was 75-yard touchdown. Wasn't a guess. That was because the coaches broke a lot of film and saw an advantage, and the kids, we talked about it, showed it on film. They knew if they executed, it would work. They executed, and it was a touchdown. So all that stuff comes from film study and putting hours in outside of just practice.
I was amazed. I had heard the kids before the game the night before saying, we guarantee that we're going to score on the first play of the game. And that was a pretty, bold statement considering the, present situation at times. And they weren't kidding. I mean, the 75-yard touchdown, I don't think I would have put money on that one. Yeah,
I wouldn't say a guarantee is a safe way to go with that one, because
they
there's
did.
still a whole lot of things you need to execute. But it was, I'm glad that they were confident in what we were doing, and they should be. We've had other weeks where we've said the same thing, and we haven't necessarily executed the way we wanted to. So you got to watch film to get the advantage, but then you have to go out and put it on the field, put it on tape.
Well, Tommy, I appreciate your time, as always, coming out and, talking to the people about the, football program and what happens week to week. So I really do appreciate you coming
Thanks
out.
for having me.
All right. All right, we're going to bring up the three high school kids. We're going to have Jimmy talk to them. But we have Cam McGee from the high school, plays center and nose guard. And then we have Kenny Offner. Kenny is a first-year Satcham's youth football player. He plays linebacker and fullback, and is developing into one of the major offensive threats. But then we also have Jake Mabardi, who I had mentioned had, he's been worthy of this award, being up on this stage tonight a couple of other times. But I know because his dad's involved in the program, he probably got pushed aside a little bit for some others. But what I love about these three players, first of all, is that these three are probably the hardest football players that Winchester has at each level. So I'm thrilled that you guys are here. So please, Jimmy, I'm going to have you ask questions of each one of them. Go ahead.
All right. First question for all three of you guys. What other sports do you guys play?
I play hockey, lacrosse, and football.
Lacrosse.
At one point I did play basketball, but I got a little too big for that. So.
Can you pass it back to Cam? Cam, question about the game on Saturday. What emotions are running through your head after we had, not tied the game up, but came within a point and everything? Can you just tell us about the game?
I mean, after Wilmington, I always thought that the games are never out of reach. We were down against Wilmington with 50 seconds left, and we came back and won the game. And this game, I felt if we stayed composed, we did all our assignments, the same thing would happen. Didn't exactly turn out that way, but I always believe that if we put ourselves in the situation, we definitely have the talent to succeed at the end of the game.
Can you tell us about your change from guard to center?
It's definitely different because as a guard, I'm not necessarily the first one off the ball. I'll have to snap the ball in between my legs. And center, there's a different timing. It definitely has to go into it rather than playing guard.
Can you pass it to Kenny? Kenny, how many years have you been playing football?
Since second grade.
Since second grade. What positions do you play at SYFC?
Fullback and linebacker.
Do you like offense or defense more?
Probably defense.
Defense. What's your favorite play on offense, though?
32 edge.
All right, can you pass to Jake? Jake, what positions do you play?
I play 3-back, 2-back, and linebacker.
Do they run the wing? Do you guys run? Oh, you guys run the SYFC offense as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, our particular team is running it.
So do you think it's going to be a big difference when you get to the high school to change to the spread offense?
It's hard to tell. I mean, I've never been in spread offense before, so just depends on.
Well, I can answer some of this for Jake. Jake is probably one of the most versatile players that I've ever had the pleasure of coaching. We could put him at safety. We could put him at linebacker. We could put him at, he's played quarterback last year. This year he's playing running back. If I asked him to play nose guard, he'd be all over it. And I can tell you right now, there's a good chance he's getting to the quarterback pretty quick. So I can answer that for you. It doesn't matter what offense you're running or what defense it is. All I know is you're going to go full speed. So there's no question about that.
Yeah, just if you put your mind to it, I guess.
No, it's a big part. You know, it's an important part. Like I was saying earlier, that these three I'm excited to have here tonight because they're three of the best football players in each one of their programs as far as I'm concerned because of their versatility, but also with what the speed they play the game is, they stand out in each one of their programs. They don't worry about the man in front of them. They're worried about who has the ball, and they go find it. I do have a question for each one of you. I know, Kenny, you said defense you'd rather play, right? What about you, offense or defense?
Defense.
What about you?
Defense.
Yeah, no, and I think this is great because we actually have three kids on the stage that aren't worried about touchdowns, more so that they'd rather. It's the old kill the man with the ball mentality, and all three of you do. I've witnessed it. It's a pleasure to actually watch you guys. So, but no, Jimmy, just continue.
All right. Hey, another question for Cam. Actually, I was going to ask.
Well, let me ask something. You know, Cam, how do you go all out? Explain. You know, you're playing both ways. You know, it's got to be tough to go from center, then playing nose guard, trying to find the ball. You're always around the ball. How do you keep yourself going throughout a game?
Well, I mean, I'm a senior in high school. You know, this is my last chance to be able to play high school football with, you know, all my friends and everything. And I know that each one of these snaps are very important because, you know, God forbid, you know, you go down with an injury, but the next snap could be your last snap. So, you know, you always want to go out there and give it full speed, give it full effort on every snap because, you know, you only have a set amount of snaps that you are ever going to have in high school. So.
Sure, the only time they know who the center is when you snap it over someone's head.
That's true.
Trust me.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Jimmy. What else?
Can you just talk about your off-season commitment and what you did to come in bigger and stronger?
I worked out at Mike Boyle's gym over in Woburn in the winter, and I did some working out over there in the spring as well and in the summer. So, you know, all three off seasons that I had, I was spending my time, you know, weightlifting over there, and it's a great program and everything that they have going on.
How much did you weigh last year at the end of the season?
At the end of the season, I think I weighed 212 pounds.
And how much did you come in at this year?
233.
Wow. How do you put on the weight?
It was a lot of stealing protein shakes from my friends, a lot of, you know, eating and everything. So. Absolutely,
That is the most difficult part for kids that, you know, trying to put on weight because their metabolisms and their energy, they're flying through everything, so they never really get on weight. I'm surprised to hear that you're able to do it. I think that's great.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for Kenny? Kenny, you're in 7th grade, right? So he has a couple more years, but what advice do you have for a kid like Kenny who plays very similar to style to you and to Jake? What advice do you have for him?
I would say definitely make sure you work all the muscles in your body. You know, don't get too focused on, you know, your upper body, your lower body. You want to be all around strong and everything, and you don't want to get too big to the point where, you know, you can't use your speed. You always want to be able to be quick and fast out there and be able to execute your position. So just make sure you're healthy and, you know, you feel good at the weight that you're at.
Want to pass it to Kenny? Kenny, you have a question for Cam about playing high school football compared to middle school? No, it's understandable. You know, there is, with Coach Manganaro, it's very similar these days because he coached the high school for so long that the step from middle school to the high school is pretty easy transition. I want to thank you guys for coming, but also, Jake, remember to wear your belt next week's game. All right? I appreciate you guys coming. Remember Gloria's, go get a free pizza because you guys are players of the week, and they'll take care of you. That's it. So he got tackled, right? Yeah. And literally came out of his pants. The kid grabbed him, and his pants came down to his ankles.
The only time anyone remembers you at center is when you snap the ball over somebody's head.